Sarah, welcome to the Impactful Revolution channel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, Yoshi. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us, making time. As usual, we like to ask you a couple of questions, personal ones, so everybody knows you a bit better. And
Okay.
then later we can go to the professional and things that you can let us share with us. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the first question I like to ask because you are a father, and I will not ask you the common one, but I will ask you the one that I like, which is if you could wake up tomorrow anywhere in the world, Miguel, where it will be and why?
If I could wake up anywhere in the world tomorrow, man, it would probably be Hawaii. I'll probably Honolulu, Hawaii. Um,
Honolulu.
yeah, just because I used to live there, and
Uh-huh.
I've been 5.5 years removed, and I still miss it a lot. So if I had to pick one place right now, top of my head, it would just be to wake up in Hawaii and just spend a day or two or a month in
All
Hawaii.
right. Okay, cool. Hope you can do it soon. Very
Yeah.
good. All right. The next question will be if I, well, I'm going to ask you anyway. If you if I ask you what was your happiest moment in your life, what would you say it was? Or which is the first memory comes to your mind, Miguel?
Happiest moment in my life. That's hard to say, man. I'm obviously the birth of my children, right?
Yeah.
Like the birth of
Uh-huh.
my children, but were pretty emotional moments. But I feel like that's an answer that everybody will give you. You know what I mean? Like an easy answer.
Yeah.
Uh, I think, man. Besides that, I will say, it was a vacation I
All
took
right.
with uh with my family and
Okay.
two other families that we were very close when we were stationed. I was stationed in Hawaii in the military,
Okay.
and we took a vacation to Orlando. It was three families, and we had a big old house. It was like a mansion, and
All
all the
right.
kids there. We had a great time. It was probably one of the best vacations I've ever taken.
All right.
Except
That's
for the
cool.
fact that we went to Universal Studios with 9 kids, and that was a little tough, but it was still an experience. So
That
I'm
has to
gonna
be
go
a
with, I'm gonna go
challenge.
with that one for now, man.
All right, that's good. Okay, very good. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's beautiful. And now for the interview, more like questions, Miguel. How someone who really admires you and respects you a lot and knows you very well will describe who is Miguel Sierra?
Uh, how would they describe me? They probably tell you that I'm very passionate. I care about people. I care about my community. I care about my family. Uh, I'm very selfless. That's what they will say probably. And I'm funny. I'm very funny. I try to make people laugh. I think laughter is like the cure for most diseases. You know what I mean? For most illnesses. So I try to make people laugh a lot. So they will also tell you that I'm very passionate about suicide prevention,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, and about mental health in general. Yeah, I think that's what they will say about me. And I
All
love
right.
basketball and music. I DJ also, so you know.
You love what? Music?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a DJ, so
Ah, all
um,
right, cool.
I love music and basketball. So that's what they will say.
Ah, music and basketball. Ah, all
Mhm.
right, cool. All right, you can recommend me some music to dance then.
Exactly, man.
Basketball. All right, cool. Very nice. Now this leads to my next question. Because this suicide prevention program manager that you are, right,
Mhm.
for the
Mhm.
U.S. Army, I was wondering, what exactly do you do? What is the most challenging part of your job? Because it sounds to be a challenging job. Miguel.
It is challenging, but it's rewarding, right? So,
Mm,
my
sure.
job is education. So I educate people on what suicide prevention is, how to intervene in times of crisis, how to reintegrate a soldier when they come back from a suicidal crisis, and
Mm.
how to deal and cope with and how to navigate um, things after a suicide happens. Okay, so my job is mostly education, is mostly influencing culture as far as and I guess it goes in turn. It goes in line with the biggest challenge, which is the stigmatizing the topic. Okay, it's a big stigma surrounding suicide and mental health issues, especially in the military. When you think about what we do for a living and the fact that everybody sees someone in uniform as a
Mm.
individual, show no weakness,
Mm.
always mission first, always strong, always ready to go. But the reality
Definitely.
of it is that based on what we do in the military, you're going to have mental struggles, you're going to have challenges, you're going to have times where you need someone to talk to and help you process things, right? So the biggest challenge for me is normalizing the conversation around mental health, around getting um, people to understand that going to a therapist, going to psychologists, going to get any type of health or behavioral health issues or mental health issues is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, you know?
Mm. And courage, yeah, for sure. All right.
Mhm.
And what is the main lesson learned you learned from all these past years dealing with mental health, suicide prevention program, and yeah, all that experience that you have?
So for me, the biggest takeaway has been um, the fact that we treat suicide prevention um, as like a class, a mandatory training, and it's like people you gotta go to this behavior to the suicide prevention training. So you walk into an environment where you already feel like you're being taught something, like you were told to come somewhere. But the reality of it is that when we're speaking about suicide prevention, all we're really discussing is quality of life. All we're really discussing is community, being there for each other, being there for yourself. So uh, the biggest takeaway for me has been facilitating a conversation more so than leading a training, right? So in my trainings, you will see that we're going to engage in a conversation about quality of life, about community, about why we should be compassionate to each other, about how to help someone in a time of crisis. You know what I mean? But it's more
Uh,
conversational.
it's more humanized, eh?
Yeah, I tell
It's,
people I don't teach you anything. I just help you understand the power that you already have.
mm,
You know,
that's cool. That's cool. Where did you learn all this stuff? You know?
the army, man, the army that threw me. And I gotta shout out my sister, Millie Frank. She was a suicide prevention program manager at Fort Belvoir. I was stationed there, and back in 2010, she reached out to me to teach a class for her. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what was going on. But she needed my help, so I went out there. I did a class, and I immediately fell in love with the topic. I felt like it was one of those things that, uh, because of my experience, my life experience, and because of my ability to facilitate conversations, I'll be good at. And I've been doing it ever since, man. I've been doing it ever since.
All right. If it's not too much to ask, what was this experience of your life that made you to go through this, or what is your why for doing this? If it's okay.
Well, so for me, the why is that I'm a suicide survivor myself, right? So
Okay.
I've been through the gauntlet, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even if I wouldn't have, I've always had a passion for people. I think all of my most meaningful jobs that I've had since I was an adult have been working with and for people. Uh, I used to work as a counselor for a college prep program. I used to work for as an intervention specialist for uh, a youth center. Um, I used to work with runaway teenagers, sexual offending teenagers and children, and
All
trying
right.
to get the help they need. So when I came into the army, it felt like I just transitioned from working with kids to now working with adults, right? But and I say adults because soldiers, man, they can be like kids sometimes too, in the way that we move, right? So
Not only
uh,
soldiers, all adults, all adults, for
the
sure.
camaraderie, the environment calls for a lot of childlike behavior every once in a while. You know what I mean?
All
Uh,
right, yeah, sure.
yeah, but for me, just a matter of um, understanding how important it was for me to have people in my corner to build community, to build brotherhood and sisterhood,
Mm,
and have people come into your space that were not blood related, but that I consider family, right? So if we can expand on that and move in a way that we have a sense of responsibility for each other and to each other, uh,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
we can make a better society and better small communities, which in turn give you a better society in general.
Definitely, yeah, like building small tribes and
Hmm.
then higher impact on the overall. Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Miguel. That was beautiful. I was wondering, you know, it's a challenging job that you have, as you say, very rewarding. I was wondering, like, how do you deal with that kind of responsibility, right? Because I guess you have your days that are not so good or your down days, and people may count with you or rely on you. That's an idea that just came to my mind, and I was wondering what are your thoughts about that.
The bad days are bad days, right? Like really bad because you will consider bad days like when a suicide happens,
Mm,
and suicides do happen. So I had to learn through over the years to do a self check, right? So on the bad days when something bad happens,
mm-hmm,
I ask myself, did I do everything that I could do to to make my environment better, right?
mm-hmm.
I understand that we're not gonna stop every single suicide, but there are gonna be plenty of situations, more than enough situations, that you can actually affect change by just showing up in a genuine way, in a compassionate way, in a caring way, in a listening way. And I do ask myself, am I doing that? And if the answer is yes, you know what I mean, it's a resounding yes. Uh, he helps me. Sorry about that, my puppies. Be quiet.
Don't worry, that's fine.
Uh,
Thank you.
he helps me, cope with it a little bit better. Not saying that it doesn't hurt. Not saying that you don't think about what could I have done better, but it does help me get through those rough times, man. Because not to people all the time. All you can really do is control your actions,
Yeah,
right? So if I can control how I move, if I know that every space that I show up in, I show up as a compassionate person, as a friend, as a somebody you can talk to, somebody that cares about you. If I can genuinely tell myself that I'm doing that, that's all we can do. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm not
definitely.
responsible for your actions. I'm responsible for mine.
Definitely. All right, very good. And what about those moments of situations maybe that you feel that you may didn't do enough or you could have done more? What do you do in those cases, Miguel? If there is
Uh,
any.
you sit with that and you learn from that, right?
Uh-huh.
Now that's not saying that is easy.
Mhm.
But again, it's all about intention. Okay. And I've been around long enough to understand life, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm a human being, right? Living a human experience. And I know that every single action that I take is my action. No one is responsible for what I do, right?
Mhm.
And in turn, I'm not responsible for anyone else's action, right? And what I do dealing with suicide prevention, I have to keep reminding myself of that every day, because if
Yeah.
not, when bad days happen, I could definitely be a person that sits on that moment and dwells on it.
Mm.
Um, and I learned that early on. Before I even was doing suicide prevention, when I was a program counselor, I was 18 years old. And I'll give you a quick example. And I remember a kid that said was suicidal. I was helping this kid out, and he said, "I don't want to live anymore." And the way I took on his pain,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was a couple of weeks before I could bounce out of that. And mind you, it was very disheartening because at the end of the day, the kid was doing it more for attention than an actual act. But he impacted me, and he made me realize. And shout out to my uh, like my bonus mom. Matter of fact, her heavenly birthday today. She passed away a couple of years ago. But
Well,
she taught me that. She told me that you had to be very careful about setting boundaries with other people and within yourself, so that you can move through those difficult times. Are we gonna make mistakes? It's human nature to make mistakes.
yeah, that's
How do
right.
we respond? How do we respond to the mistakes? How do we respond to the lessons that we learn? How do we apply them? You know what I mean? So
Uh-huh.
it's one of those things that I don't sit and dwell too much, because if I do that, the next person is gonna pass me right over. So
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing, that so you have a lot of responsibility and you need to have a lot of awareness, on
mhm,
self-awareness about how everything affects you or influence you, and how you need to keep the balance, right? In
yep,
order to be professional and to be helpful to the people you serve, right?
yep, yep. That's the key.
Uh,
That's the key.
and that's admiring, man. All right, and I wanted to ask you, these things for me are very profound because it's about death, right? And it's something that is a very kind of taboo topic that many people don't talk, and especially nowadays in this particular case, which is suicide. Uh, and you probably learn a lot, right, about these stories and the people coming to you. I was wondering what is you think your main life lesson learned, regarding all this experience that you had.
Uh, Main life lesson. It's a tough question, man. But I think that the main lesson is
Hmm.
um, one, well, a couple of lessons, but for me, it's been walk with purpose. All right,
Yeah.
walk in your purpose. Um, I found when I first started doing this work that I was good at it, and now I've decided to make it my life mission. You know what I mean? So I'm very passionate about that. So walk in your purpose. If you're good at something, if your story and your skill set can help someone else, do it, right? So that's my biggest thing. But also to be aware of my own cup, right, and maintain a certain level of satisfaction in my life for myself, so that I can give to other people, right? So I
Uh-huh.
always suppose you can't pour from an empty cup. So one
Uh-huh.
of the biggest hurdles for me in the work that I do is uh, taking care of myself, right? Because when you have
Mm.
people in crisis, when you have people that need you, you tend to, tell yourself, well, I'll deal with this later. I'm gonna go help that person now. But it's very important for us to take care of ourselves. It's not selfish. It's not a selfish act. The
Mm.
same reason why when you get on a plane, they tell you put your oxygen mask on first before you put it on your babies, right? Because if you don't, you can pass out and then everybody's dead,
Definitely.
right? So
I like that one. Yeah.
yeah, you
Definitely.
gotta just the biggest lesson is take care of myself, find
Uh-huh.
satisfaction and balance within myself so that I can pour into other people better.
Lovely. And what are the practical exercises or practices that you do for self-care, Miguel, nowadays?
Uh, the gym, that's one, right? So I try to work out as much as possible. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's becoming a lot more challenging as I get older. Everything hurts more than yeah. I feel more pain than I see results. I'll tell you that. So for me, the gym is very
There
much
is no growth without pain. Okay, so
yeah,
you're doing well.
yeah. I don't see that much growth. All I see is pain. But I love being in the gym. I think it's a metaphor for life, right? You know, when things get tough, you gotta go through the rough times to get the results that you want.
Uh-huh.
I'm also very intentional about surrounding myself with people that, as much as I can laugh with them, I can also cry with them, right?
Mm,
So I surround myself with people that want to see me win, that care for me, and in return, I care and I cheer and I support them on. So that's very important for me. I'm also patient with myself. Uh, Having patience and understanding that life is a journey um, has helped me cope through and deal with a lot of adverse situations.
mm,
Um, and I was just telling my friend this too, man. This is important for me also that I tell people that I'm healing. I'm not healed, right? I I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect. You know, just because I do this work does not mean that I don't struggle with my own demons, that I don't have bad days, that I don't make mistakes. I do, and I do them
mm,
often. So understanding that I'm living my own human experience helps me put things in perspective. You know, when I talk to you, when I talk to anybody, I don't come from a place of I have it all figured out.
mm.
I talk to you from a place of I know the struggles are there. I've been there before. I'm going through them now. I'm just here to share my story with you. Hopefully, it inspires you, it gives you a little bit of strength to keep going. You know what I mean? Until you figure it out for yourself.
Definitely, definitely. That's good. You know, this patience scene is something that I also struggled when I started. As an entrepreneur and doing my own business, and it's something that I see nowadays in society that there is a lot of lack of it, right? Especially with social media, with Amazon delivering things in a few hours, and so instant gratification is something that is becoming very, very challenging in order to create this virtue or to practice this virtue. So I was wondering, what could you tell these young startups or entrepreneurs that maybe are very eager, but yeah, that they could practice this patience that I think is very important and is becoming very important virtue in today's
Uh,
world.
I tell you this much, right? Believe in yourself and stay the course. Um, when I left the army, like I did suicide prevention for the army in uniform, right? So when I got out of the army, it wasn't necessarily by choice. You know what I mean? Like I had to get
Mm,
out. I made some decisions based on what was best for my family, but I was very hurt, and I wanted to keep doing suicide prevention in the civilian sector, right?
mhm,
And those first 2 years or so of me trying to get speaking engagements and get work doing suicide prevention was very very tough, right? And eventually, what happened is I started chasing money. I started chasing big paychecks and doing things that I wasn't passionate about, right? And one day the universe said, "Hey, man, we're gonna have to sit you down so you can realize that this is not you. This is not what you got to do, right?" And I got physically sick, man. I thought I was dying,
uh,
and quit my job. And I said, when I go back to work, it's got to be doing something that I love doing. And that's when I got this job doing, as a suicide prevention program manager. Took a couple of
mhm,
months though, right? But once I had that job, things just started magically happening to me. All the things that I wanted to do when I first came out of the army started, speaking engagements, workshops, people reaching out to me and for consulting businesses. And
uh-huh.
it's a great feeling when your passion meets your bank account, right? So you start getting paid for stuff. But it was a 5 year journey. You know what I mean? And for some people, when you hear stories about entrepreneurs, for example, you hear stories of folks, working and busting their behinds for 8, 9, 10, sometimes 15 years before they see a substantial
Yeah,
paycheck or financial compensation. But I am a firm believer that if you walk with purpose, things are gonna come your way. the universe is gonna align things for you to be successful. So stay the course. That's my advice. Stay the course. If you believe in something, keep doing it because it'll come to you.
I love that. Yeah, it's like the universe conspires to give you
Your
everything
favor.
that you need and helps you.
But sometimes it feels like it's the opposite, right? So when I got
Right.
sick, or when I said I had to quit this job making six figures, like okay, like I'm broke now. Are you sure universe is what you want me to be, universe? It's tough, right? So,
Yeah, I know the feeling for sure. That's cool. That's really cool. Believe in yourself and stay in the course. Yeah.
yeah.
And in that sense, what was your most challenging part to, in that sense that you share now, that believe in yourself, because there is a lot of self-doubt, I'm sure, that you had to overcome, and things like, issues, whatever. Yeah. So what was, you think, the biggest challenge that was like the biggest test that you had to overcome, if it makes sense, Miguel?
I say it was the biggest challenge I had was trusting myself, right? Trusting that I deserve this, right? So somebody like me, for example, um, I just for example, I just did a keynote address at the
Mhm.
University of South Florida,
Okay.
and it wasn't even on suicide prevention. It was on mental health and marginalized communities, right? So for me, I don't even have a college degree. To be a keynote speaker at a college, I felt like I don't belong here. I felt like maybe this is not for me. Like maybe this is, what am I doing here? Like I'm sitting in a room full of people that have a lot more education than I do. You know what I'm saying? So the biggest challenge for me was understanding that I'm good at this. I Now that I didn't believe in myself, but believing that I belong in the spaces that the universe was putting me in and moving accordingly. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now I'm going through a conference for higher education. I'm like I'm a panelist for all these things are happening to me that I'm like I'm still in awe, but I definitely feel like I belong. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's been the biggest challenge, though.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
My
beautiful.
pleasure.
That's great. And now, since you have probably also had a lot of success cases, right, in your job, what would you say is the case of the experience that you are most proud of, Miguel? The one that
Um,
taught you, yeah, if there is
the
any.
the most pride that I take out of my job is it has been
Uh-huh.
helping people shift their mind, helping people advocate for themselves and going to get help for themselves. I've had folks come to me and say, I heard you talk 5, 6 years ago, and because of your presentation, I went to get help, and it saved my life. You know what I mean? Like now, mind you, I don't feel like I saved anybody's life, but if talking to me or listening to me gave you the encouragement to go get help for yourself and put you in those spaces where you no longer want to die by suicide, that's the most rewarding thing for me. I love hearing stories of people that were inspired by me or inspired by a conversation we had, um, to help them help themselves, to help them
Mm-hmm.
advocate for themselves. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
probably the biggest takeaway for me. And also when I talk to my children, and my children understand how important suicide prevention is, I feel like I'm planting seeds in them to
Mhm.
take over my job at some point, right? And help change the world. So
That's great. That's awesome. And in this case, all right, what is your main lesson learned to influence or inspire or help people to help themselves?
um don't overthink it. Um you don't gotta have all the answers. Sometimes sitting down with someone that's suicidal, or sitting down with someone that's going through a behavioral health or mental health struggle, um, you might feel like you got to have answers for them. That you want to figure things out and fix things right away. But sometimes they just need somebody to be there with them. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like sometimes, I'm a problem solver by nature. Me. Like I don't really, when I go to people to vent, or sometimes when I'm feeling down and my friends show up or we go play basketball, I don't need them to give me answers. I don't need them to help me figure things out. I just need them to help me laugh, to help me feel seen, to help me feel supported. Sometimes they give me a hug. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
we overthink this a lot. You know, we shy away from showing up for someone because we don't have the answers. You don't gotta have the answers. All you gotta do is care enough for that person to show up for that person. And you can sit there, right? If I'm on an island by myself, because all my problems are drowning me, I'm on a little tiny island by myself. If you come and you sit on that island with me, immediately I feel better. Now I don't know how we're gonna get off this island, you know, but you're there with me now, so that's all I needed in that moment. Sometimes that's all it takes. It's
Uh-huh.
for somebody to see you, for somebody to be there with you, for somebody to support you. You don't gotta figure it out for everybody.
Is the present, the connection, and the caring part
That's it.
that
That
people
empathy.
need, right? In those situations.
Yep.
Actually, last article I was writing about loneliness, and how that can
Yep.
kill people or influence their health, in a very
Hmm.
detrimental way. So this kind of community and this kind of work that you do, it has to be really helpful, and really good to these people. Okay, we are running out of time. It was beautiful. I just see that there has been two comments here on the live chat. So healthcare provider have touched then spiritual has the part of healthcare over that. Thank you for okay. Keep on saying, keep doing your thing, brother. You are having an impact on others every day, and what you do matters. Okay, very beautiful. So it was not any questions. Miguel, I don't know if there is anything else that we haven't covered during these 30 minutes that you would like to share we haven't mentioned about.
Nah, just I mean, like we've been saying, I know it's repetitive, but I can't say it enough. Just
Hmm.
show up for other people, show up for yourself, take care of yourself, have the courage to advocate for yourself and your own mental health and mental and emotional well-being, so that you can show up for other people. Um,
Hmm.
there's power in community. There's power in making somebody feel seen and feel like they belong somewhere. There's power in having a sense of purpose. So let's work to advocate for each other and advocate for ourselves in doing that.
All right,
That's all I got,
great.
brother.
Thank you so much. And now my last question, okay, just to see what your response is. If
Uh-oh,
you
here
could
you go.
leave, if you could leave a last message to the whole world, what would you leave?
Mm, that's a heck of a last question, brother. I would say listen, listen more, talk less.
I love it, man.
Yeah, listen more, talk less. Or listen to understand, not to respond. How about that?
Mm,
I think a lot
I
of problems
actually
can be solved.
read a post from a guy who I interviewed as well, who was a coach, and he said something like that. And thank you so much. Let's listen more. It was a beautiful experience, Miguel. Thank you so much for sharing and for the vulnerability that you show, and also the kindness for sharing these difficult topics and difficult things. So yeah, thanks a lot. We keep in
All
touch.
right, man.
Yeah, thanks. See you soon.
All right,
Okay.
man. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.